answers to all your health, fitness, and life questions. Monday motivation, Wednesday workouts, and Friday fit forever. This is your host, Jen Plykin, with occasional guests. Let's get started. Hey, what's up? 180 Fit. Happy Mindset Monday as we continue on a journey of a worthy life. And I'm excited because today's a special day. Today, not only am I on the podcast, but I'm also on YouTube doing this too. So if you prefer YouTube to do more of the video thing, you can totally find me on YouTube. Check out the show notes, and I'm there. Let your friends know that I'm there if they're more YouTube-y people. Want to hit all different avenues and stuff. I'm going to maybe make a blog as well out of this. So anyway, today we're going to go and continue on with the Worthy Life Part 4, the not so empowered self. So don't worry, sounds like a downer, but I promise you it turns up. And we've spent the past 3 times together talking about living our best life and becoming our best selves and really fulfilling that purpose that we want out of our lives. And that's so essential. We want to all, I think, be on, our deathbed, knowing that we played full out. And so how do we do that? Because it's hard. It's hard to even know how to get there. And there's so many things that hold us up in life. And so today we're going to go ahead and look at that. And why would we even want to even play this way and live this way? And I really think that Brene Brown kind of really defines it better than anything that I could. So I'm going to go ahead and read to you her what she defines as wholehearted living. And so wholehearted living is about engaging in our lives from a place of worthiness. It means cultivating the courage, compassion, and connection to wake up in the morning and think, no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough. It's going to bed night thinking, yes, I'm imperfect and vulnerable and sometimes afraid, but it doesn't change the truth that I'm also brave and worthy of love and belonging. So it's that point of where we are living full out and that we are actually truly being our best selves. But yet it's also the satisfaction of realizing that we're imperfect people and knowing that we're going to make mistakes, because if we're not okay with making mistakes, if we're not okay with failing, then we're not going to be brave enough, and we're not going to live all out, and we're not going to be that person that we really ever want to be if we're not willing to be vulnerable and be courageous and willing to take some chances and change some mindsets and change maybe some ways that we do things and approach things. So hopefully that's encouraging to you. I've been just kind of really digging into a lot of Brene Brown stuff lately. She's just one of those people that just really puts things real. She puts it real. She speaks about the hard things. So even if you haven't ever experienced it for yourself, look it up. I'll be doing some more things on her as well, because she has some workbooks and stuff that goes along with her books and different things. And I think that they would tie in a lot to what I even do with my empowerment coaching. And so I'm kind of tying that into, so you'll probably hear me talk about her a lot more in the days to come. So what will today look like? Let's look at that. Today, we're going to go ahead and we are going to first review parts 1 to 3. What have we talked about before? Then we're going to define negative self-talk, okay? Recognize that self-talk and talk about mistakes, how we fail forward. And that's where we get to see the benefits and the beauty that comes from it all. So if we're going to continue on now, let's go ahead and look at what we've kind of already talked about. So let's review parts 1 through 3 the past few weeks, in case some of you haven't been with me or you're just now jumping on. So part 1, we talked about what is a worthy life. And it's basically living our level 10 authentic and brave self. It maximizes the potential in everything we do. We seize opportunities. Nothing holds us back. And we have balance. We're healthy, happy, passionate. We have purpose, and we have gratitude in our lives. So all these things are really, really important when we look at living full out and having a worthy life, something that's worthwhile. And I really like this Tony Robbins quote. I think he defines it very well. Create a vision and never let the environment, other people's beliefs, or the limits of what has been done in the past shape your decisions. So it's just saying that we can still create our destiny. We can still, no matter what's happened to us, we can actually still create and become that person that we really want to be. And I think that's so important to hear, because so many times we get so beat down. So let's go and look at the next part. So action-based planning was part one. Part one had the defining it, and then action-based planning. So how do we plan to actually have a worthy life? And first we had to identify the problem, and where the problem is. And we had to really look at our lives objectively, and we had to be ruthless with our self-talk. And then we had to create a visual plan that captures who we want to be physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And design a plan, year, month, week, day, and habits. Kind of task listing, kind of a map for our lives. So we looked at, this is where I'd want to be in a year. So a year from now, if I really played full out, if I really became that person I want to be and overcame all these difficulties, who would I be? And then visualizing that and getting to that emotional, that spiritual, that mental, that physical state of that. And then from that, going, okay, if I want to be here in a year, then what do I need to be at? Where are my month endpoints? Where are my weeks? So each month that is made up of weeks, right? What do I need to, where are my week goal points? What are my daily things? And really what ultimately makes our goals happen are our daily habits. What habits do you not have in your life right now that you need to have in your life daily in order to make that goal or that dream or that vision become a reality? And so week one, when we talked, was really an essential week to it, because without that, we can't have nothing to build upon. So if you're just now jumping in, I encourage you to go back and listen to the podcast from the weeks before. I'll try to get the YouTube videos up for them to make some, but make sure you get those foundational things, because this is not something that we just are going to listen to. This is something we want to take action with. All right, so then part two, we talked about our nutrients and our movement, and how that we have to go on a health journey. One of the key things to even to play full out is that we need to be healthy individuals. And it's not about diets. It's not about hours at the gym. It's about making healthy choices and lifestyle decisions that are going to create us to feel energetic, to live a long life, to be engaged, to not be depressed and sluggish, and all those things that a poor diet can have. Some of it is chemical. Some things are chemical, and that has to be dealt with another way. But sometimes depression and other things are just simply because of our diet and our movement. So when we talk about that small improvements over time, we can't just go change everything. It needs to be sustainable, so we do that by small things. And we talk about that we nourish our bodies because it affects everything from mental, physical, and emotional. And then simply focus on moving more rather than stressing out about a set amount of time at the gym. Find ways to add that movement to your daily routine. Park further away. Take the stairs. Get a standing desk at work. I have a little stepper by my desk. So there's lots of opportunities there that we can actually do. Okay, and then next we looked at part three, which was last week, where was the key part. The missing part a lot of times is our habits and our habits and our mindset. But our mindset actually determines our habits. So if we have a poor mindset, those habits that we want to develop every day, whatever happen. And so the key part is the mindset. And the mindset's defined as a way of thinking, in a word, a mental inclination or a disposition or a frame of mind. Your mindset is your collection of thoughts and beliefs that shape your thoughts and habits. And your thought habits affect how you think and what you feel and what you do. So your mindset impacts how you make sense of the world and how you make sense of you. So mindset is key. And some ways to develop and cultivate a good mindset and post in a good state of mind every day is through meditation. We talked about self-love. We talked about doing some yoga. We talked about journaling, actually handwritten journaling as well. And then today we are moving on to, ready for this? That stinking thinking, aka negative mindset. So we all have voices in our head, and that tells us that we can't do something. We call it our inner critic. All too often we make the mistake of listening to it, and that can cause stress in our lives, not to mention a lack of fulfillment. It may seem daunting to become aware of that voice in our head. However, once we identify it, we can start letting it go of its negativity. And so we have to identify it. We have to realize that we all have some stinking thinking up in our minds, and that it's a part of us, and that we are the masters, and we are the ones that shape ultimately what we think. But we have to be aware of what we're thinking. And so, so how do we do this? How do we recognize that self-talk? Let's talk about that. So recognizing our self-talk, this is a big one. And a lot of times we just have to start being aware. We have to be aware of our self-talk. And so self-talk can be actually, it can be a good thing from time to time. I mean, let's face it, sometimes even when we can call it negative self-talk, it's very damaging, but sometimes it can actually be something that corrects us and corrects our path and be like, oh yeah, that wasn't a good idea. So negative self-talk is very, very damaging in and of itself. We need to redirect it to achieve personal growth. Once we can identify negative patterns within our thought process, we can turn it into positive energy. Becoming self-aware is a vital step to living in your best life. And so each of us, each step we take, it takes us closer or further away from our legendary life, depending upon the story we tell ourselves. And I did not realize this. Honestly, this was not a part of my world and my reality or anything until back starting in September, like when I turned 40. And I came in contact with Tony Robbins and Dean Garziosi and Brene Brown. And like, it revamped my entire world. And my self-talk was so horrendous. I mean, it was bad. And so trust me when I say, like, it's not easy work to change it, but when you do, and once you start recognizing and you start being like, man, that's not cool. Girlfriend, you're, like, not talking well to yourself. And yesterday, I was listening to Brene Brown. I thought she defined, the difference between guilt and shame in such a way I've never thought of. So, if shame is, I am stupid, okay? Guilt is, that was really stupid, I didn't study for the test. Like, that was not a smart choice. But it doesn't put that definition upon yourself. Like, you're not attached to it. So, if you are a teacher out there, if you have kids, if you yourself, like anyone around you, like, there's such strong research here. Make sure that you are cultivating guilt over shame. And it's so easy in the classroom. I mean, coming from being a teacher. And it's so easy to just fly by and let kids, say things about themselves. Or I've even heard teachers do it. My goodness, I hope I never have. But I don't know. Kid, if I ever have, I'm so sorry. But because, teachers are like, you're going to put their name on their paper. And Brene does a really good job with that, of describing her observing this teacher. And it's just sad. It's sad because then that kid, it was that kid's self-talk, and I have a lot of that. I had a lot of that from childhood. Like, a lot of those things that just constantly played over and over and over again, and they became my own self-talk. But they were ultimately first said by other people, not by me. And some of my biggest hang-ups have come from that. And so we need to really, really, this is not something to take lightly at all. Our self-talk, it really defines a lot of us, and it's going to hold us back, and it's going to keep us in addictions and bad habits, and even like food addictions, from eating disorders all the way to compulsive eating, to emotional eating, to everything, to like just not feeling worthy enough, like you're not even good enough to even be successful or take that risk. I mean, just there's so much there. So our inner critic can sometimes be helpful. It can help us stay motivated. So if everybody tells us not to eat that hamburger because it's not good for us, right? It's sensible we listen to it. Okay, everybody tells us, man, that really wasn't a nice thing you said. Like that, sometimes you just know you were just kind of bitchy, or like you just weren't your best self. Go fix that. Like, that's good. But 2, don't shame yourself. That's huge. And I'm going to do a whole thing on shame and guilt, and just kind of the whole thing after we get through this 10-part series, because I think it's really important. I found some good depth to it. I think it was freeing once we discover and realize it. So all too often, this critic is so harmful, though, and it's not helpful. It can breed excessive negativity. That negative self-talk brings us down. Negative self-talk takes several forms. It may sound grounded, like, I'm no good at this, so I shouldn't do it in case I get hurt. It may sound even realistic. Like, I got a bad mark for this math test, that means I'm no good at this subject. It may even become a fearful fantasy like, I'll fail my classes and never go to college. So, how do we actually look at this? So, practical uses of the subject. So, practical uses of this. So, let's talk about practically this negative self-talk. So, negative self-talk limits our ability to truly believe in our abilities, okay? So, what's the result of it? It's going to limit us in our abilities. Our confidence is often undermined. It stops us from putting in place positive change in our life. And ultimately, okay, practical of this, like actual science and research shows that as a result of this negative mindset, that it paralyzes us from reaching our full potential and living that legendary, that worthy life that we're after. So if we don't get a hold of this, we'll never reach what we're looking for. Okay, so negative self-talk is linked to poor self-esteem and higher stress levels. It reduces our motivation and makes us feel helpless. The more we say to ourselves that I can't do something, the more we'll believe it. We'll start to believe that we need to be perfect, but perfection is unattainable. And I've said this several times, that my theme for this year is consistent progress over perfection, because perfection would hold me back, and if it's not perfect, I will do what I will put it out there. Like, I'm sure this video is not going to be perfect. I'm sure this podcast will have parts that aren't perfect, but you know what? It's okay, because I'm making progress, and every time I put myself out there a little bit more, and I'm being brave, and it's all good, and haters are going to hate, and like, it's okay. But if I have to have perfection, then I'm never going to take that risk. And that's important too with kids and their self-talk, and if we're teachers or parents or around, like, teach kids consistent progress over perfection. Like, as long as you're moving in the right direction, I'm proud of you. Like, what did you do to show up and be brave today? Not, what did you do perfectly? Because otherwise we're never going to take risks, or you're going to end up driving them in, that's how it, driving them into addictions and just depression and anxiety, and there's so much of that already in the world. We don't need more of it. So what happens when we try to obtain this perfection? We begin to feel depressed and insecure, and ultimately this can even develop into relationship issues. So this doesn't affect us; it starts affecting other people around us and those who are closest to us. Most importantly, negative self-talk just isn't, this genius. Positive self-talk, on the other hand, is instrumental in achieving success. This has been proven in studies carried out among even athletes. These showed that those who participate in positive self-talk did achieve greater success. So, greater success, next level of living. So, how can we identify the inner voice and take steps to address it? Let's get practical now. Okay? So, how can you identify the inner voice and take steps to address it? Catch your inner critic in the act, okay? So I want to think of it like a movie, okay? It's playing or something, or a TV show, right? We have something going on in our minds. It's a story, it's a plot, something's going on. When you notice yourself listening to that inner voice, stop it straight away. Would you speak to a child or a good friend that way? If not, it's negative self-talk and it needs to be stopped. You remember, they say, like, you have the remote. Like, you can press stop at any moment. You can press play on that negative self-talk, but we can also press stop. We're in charge of it. It doesn't matter how many times someone has spoken it to us. It doesn't matter how many times that we have, told ourselves that's true. We can stop at any time. We can rewrite our stories. We don't have to let it continue. Remember, feelings and thoughts aren't always real. Just because you think something is negative about yourself doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts may be skewed and subject to moods and biases. So try naming your inner critic. When you do this, you're acknowledging that it's outside of you. So this helps you recognize you shouldn't listen to it or agree to it. It also helps you see that's ridiculous nature of some of those critical thoughts. So, name it. Give it a person, give it a persona. So what would you name your inner critic? Who is that, Maybe it's your critical teacher, who, I know we all had them, like a critical teacher who, you can never be good enough for, right? And And so maybe name her name, or his name. It's sad. It's like teachers have such influence out, on our lives, because positive or negative direction, such a great influence. We can all remember the teachers who had negative, and we can all remember the teachers who had positive. So, so once you name it, right? Okay, then contain that negativity. So only allow the inner critic to criticize certain elements in your life. Alternatively, limit the length of time you're prepared to listen. That restricts the impact of negativity in your life. So if it's guilt, I guess, because I kind of consider the inner critic can be like the guilt thing, like, oh man, that was not wise. Like, that was not nice. So that was, man, why did you go and eat that? When you're trying to work on your goals. That's not cool. Like, don't sabotage yourself. So it's criticizing you, but it's not placing it as, you're not identifying with it as, I am bad, I am stupid, I'm pathetic, or whatever you might say, whatever is in your playlist up there. I have a whole bunch. So, and then once you can stop yourself from listening to it, try to change how intense the language it uses is. So turn I hate this into I find this challenging. Much better, right? Yeah. Use gentle language helps mute the negative power of the critic. So question your inner voice. Negative self-talk frequently goes unchallenged. Catch yourself in the act and then question whether or not it's true. Most negative self-talk is an exaggeration. If you call yourself out on it, its influence is less damaging. Be a friend to yourself. Your inner critic is often your worst enemy. It allows you to say things to yourself that you never dream of saying to a friend. Imagine that you were saying such negative things to a loved one. How would they feel? Instead, imagine how you would share those thoughts with a friend. And this will help you change negative and self-talk into more positives. And then change your viewpoint. So try thinking long-term. Will this thing upsetting you now really matter in a couple of years? Look at the problem from a distance. So sometimes it's good to take a step back and almost dissociate yourself with what's happening. And speak about it out loud, maybe even to a friend. See if it's unrealistic and unreasonable. And sometimes we need that outside source. If you have a good friend you could talk to. But really, the ultimate thing is hitting that stop. Okay, so you have the remote. Remember, hit that stop. Stop the thought in its tracks. You can do this. It's even something that I read once, wear a rubber band around your wrist and snap it. When you're experiencing negative thought, you can do it mentally by visualizing as saying I stop or hitting that remote. But if you can even just try changing a different idea from the negative thoughts, but that rubber band, sometimes that physical, now that I thought that was funny. I'm actually that'd probably work, because you're oh my gosh, no, that's crazy. I haven't tried it yet, so let me know if you do. But I thought that was a good one. I'm sometimes you need that tactical. But yeah, and ultimately what we really want to do is try to change it with a different idea from the negative thoughts. Change that negative into, more of a positive. And this works especially well with extremely critical or repetitive thoughts. And I first heard about this and learned about this when I was looking at Dean Graziosi, and he looked at this. And so changing the negative into a positive. So remember, it's we have choices. We are in control. No matter how much sometimes we want to believe that we're not in control, no matter how much it seems like maybe we're not, we are ultimately in control of what we think and what we say to ourselves. And so turn bad into good. This is the best way to combat your negative self-talk. Try replacing those negative thoughts with good ones. It needs to be accurate, but also encouraging. For example, instead of saying, I am bad at this, say, I'm still learning how to do this. And if we can change it around that way, and is it okay? I guess this is another thing. Is it okay for us not to be the best at everything? We live in a world where it seems like we have this pressure that we have to be the best at everything, that we have to be just amazing, and if we're not good at something, we're less than worth something, and that's not true at all, because honestly, we need us all to be good at different things. I mean, as I run my business, I'm discovering things that I'm not good at, and I cannot wait to hire people to do it, because there's no way I want to spend my time, my energy doing it if I don't have to, and I'm okay with that. Where in the past, I would have drove myself crazy trying to be perfect at it, figuring it all out until I had it, because I would have to be perfect at everything. And that's not the case. We don't have to be perfect at everything. So keep that in mind, that, that this is not my best skill. I'm going to do the best I can, because that's what I need to do right now. But I don't have to be the best at everything. And be okay with that. Be okay with being you. Remember, we're trying to live authentically here. All right, so next part is to embrace our mistakes. And I know this is a hard one, but trust me, when I started truly doing this, man, it brought me so much freedom. So if we want to live a worthy and legendary life, we need to fail forward. Recognize that there are no mistakes, only lessons to be learned. If something bad happens, learn from it. When you accept your shortcomings and mistakes as an opportunity for personal growth, you'll be less fearful. You'll also be more self-assured and confident. As a result, your life becomes more fun and rewarding. Most of us feel bad if we make a mistake. We feel angry with ourselves. Many of us beat ourselves up mentally time and time again. It's important to avoid this. Look at each mistake as a gift. It gives you the chance to explore areas in which you need to work harder. Maybe you need to change your approach. Explore what took place and why. So think about, actually sit back and think. I think too many times things happen and, mistakes happen, and we just kind of, just keep going. We shove it underneath the rug, stomp on it, act like it didn't happen, beat ourselves up, and rather than just taking an honest look at it and saying, okay, what really happened here? Is there something that I could have done better? Is there a decision? Is there an area in my life that I need to improve? Is there a habit I need to change? Or, was it just a mistake? Was it something that I could really learn? And that's awesome. Because if we didn't make mistakes, we'd never learn, and we never know how to do things differently, right? I mean, think about it. All our great inventions came as a result of fail time again, right? I mean, if they gave up, if they didn't see failure as an opportunity to learn and to improve and as a glorious thing, then we would never have a lot of the inventions we have. We need to teach our kids that, too. Hey, man, okay, we didn't do so great on that test, but it's okay, because what did you learn? How can you maybe that's not the way you need to approach these kind of problems. What other way can we approach them? Or, I think having those genuine conversations with kids and teaching them from a young age as to how to evaluate mistakes and see the benefit in them, see the celebration, and hey, look, okay, I discovered this, but what can I learn from this? And then it allows kids to take ownership for their learning too, because then they're learning and they're discovering and they're realizing, hey, it's okay, I can take a risk. And you know what? If I'm not the best, it's going to be okay, because people are going to get mad at me as long as I'm trying my best and I'm doing my best. And then I'm learning as I go, and then they won't forget it either. We're drill and kill these kids with so many things that they're not going to remember it, and they're not going to know how to apply it in life when they need it, because they've only seen it one way and they didn't really ever own it. And so I think we're really doing a disservice to our kids that are being brought up in our systems, because we're not really teaching them, not everyone, not everywhere. I'm not saying that blanket, but I'm saying in general, as I see, it brings me great concern, because I think problem solving and knowing even how to not shut down when there's a problem there and they have to figure out how to solve it is going to be a big issue in our future. We're going to see that if we don't make some changes within the system. And I think, I just know even myself how much I would just shut down if I would make a mistake, and how much I'd beat myself up and speak that negative self-talk, and how destructive it was, and it led to other issues in my life. And so I mean, I think of that and think of how much is multiplied right now, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the youth coming up. And so unless we're the ones that make the changes as adults, unless we start doing the changes in ourselves, we can never, ever show our kids or show students or show this world a different way. And so it has to start with us, always. We always have to, I love, Mike Jones' Man in the Mirror. We always have to look at ourselves first before we can do anything. We can't change anybody else. We have to look at ourselves always first. So this isn't something for you to go take it to your husband and be like, I think you need to be looking at some of this. It's for us. It's for us to examine our own lives. And then as we live it out and we model it, other people will follow it too. And that way they start living their best and authentic self. But it must start with us. So once we explore what took place and why, then it'll help us to put the situation in the right kind of realm and look at it in the right light for the future, and make sure that we don't make the same mistake again. There's something we really need to learn from, or that we revamp maybe our approach and different things. So I think those mistakes are so essential. I mean, I wish I would have been more brave sooner in life, honestly, because if I would have made more mistakes and embraced those mistakes, I think I'd be a lot further down the path in my life. So, and of course, I need to put a disclaimer here, because on the other hand, don't refuse to acknowledge your mistake. Like, if you make a mistake, own up to it, people. Like, own up to it. We're human. Okay, don't blame others about the situation itself. It's so much easier. Like, I know, we none of us want to be the problem, right? None of us want to be the ones, but we have to own up. I think genuine living an authentic and real and level 10 life, a worthy life, at the end of saying, hey, when I messed up, when I really screwed up, I was able to go and I was able to say, hey, look, man, I sucked. I mean, oh no, we're not allowed to say that. That's shame. I'm changing it. Say, man, the way I acted was wrong. That wasn't cool, and I'm sorry. Like, I messed up. That's my fault, and will you forgive me, and can I clear the air? And I think it's important we need to start owning up to our parts and things, I think, a lot more, and being vulnerable in that way, because that is vulnerable, because you never know how the other person's going to respond, right? And not expecting them to respond with the same way. Like, we can't, just because we say we're sorry and we realize our part, doesn't mean that they're going to realize theirs, and we can't control that. We can only control ourselves, and we can't expect, just because we own up to something, that the other person is going to own up to theirs and then be upset if they don't, because who are we controlling? We're looking at ourselves, like, internally. And so and remember, like, don't be a victim. Victim mentality won't help us in the long run. We have to learn how to learn from things, right? Learn from and process it, learn from it, and move on. Let it go. Growing stronger as a person. So how do you learn to embrace mistakes and failings? No worries. It's not as complicated as you think. Okay. So be open about the possibility of making a mistake. All humans make mistakes. Embrace them as a chance to learn a life lesson. Yes, you may get hurt. However, you learn to move on instead of wallowing in disappointment and regret. Be aware, always. Be looking out for areas that you can be improved. Become aware of what you do and why you do it. So live with intention every day. Live in the moment. Live present. Like, present and intentionally. How do you feel about it, and why, and how are you making others feel? I mean, get us out of our own heads. Like, how I go about my day, like, how does that impact and influence others? Am I causing more joy in the life of others? Am I bringing down? Am I gossiping? Am I, like, what do I bring into the room? And I think that's so important. We need to own up for our presence. Like, what does our presence give to others? And be actively seeking for betterment and avoiding unnecessary mistakes. Accept responsibility. No matter what happens or what mistake you make, take full responsibility. Even if there was another party involved, you can always learn something. It's liberating to accept responsibility. While it's difficult to admit you're wrong, it demonstrates your courage and your strength. While it's, it's humbling, right? Like, no one likes to do that, but honestly, at the end of it, you feel lighter, because you carry, I don't know about you, like, but if I do something wrong and I don't clear the air, like, it's this heavy weight on me until I do. Like, I cannot escape it. There is no way. It's going to have to get clear. So, and it also helps us commit to personal excellence. Like, if we want to live that life, right? If we want to live our best self demands and requires of us to show up and to be authentic and be real and own up if we need to. You'll also be accepting your responsibility for putting things right, to fix something that was done badly, correct a misunderstanding. This will help you make better choices in the future. So when you're open to life lessons, which can be learned from all encounters, and how many times a day, right? Situations and event, you'll empower yourself. You just want to be empowered. As a result, your relationships with others will be richer and more meaningful. You also develop greater self-respect, greater maturity, and more integrity. As a result, you'll be better able to work on your plan to live a worthy and legendary life, like live that best life. So when if we're living with integrity, if we're living authentic and true, if we're not trying to cover up and lie and all those kind of things, those things just weigh us down. They're not freeing. There's no, as much as it seems difficult to go be honest and to go own up for our mistakes and stuff, truly authentic and real and like free living is not having those secrets and not having any of those kind of things holding us back and stuff. And so we really need to make sure that we take that opportunity to do that. So I always have a practical approach at the end of these, because I want you to actually go and I want you to actually do something with it. So I have 2 different things for you that for you to go grab for free resources. So it's a mindset for success, and a guide, kind of guide you through it, and then a checklist. So you can check off and see where you are on your mindset journey. And then when you're actually making this practical thing that you're doing, so I would like for you to go download those and print them off or put them on your phone and actually go through them and evaluate yourself this week. And maybe keep a journal of what's my bad thinking, what's my negative, what's my stinking thinking, and what am I going to do about it? And maybe go back through and listen to this and see your key points as to what's holding you back. Because remember, that story we tell ourselves that's going to destroy and jeopardize us ever becoming our best selves if we don't do something about it. If I tell myself I'm worthless, I'm never going to amount to anything, will I ever? No, I told my story that, as much as I would try to fight against it until I change that story and go, no, in spite of things, I'm going to rise up and I'm going to become my best self. I'm going to become somebody who leaves something in this world worthy. And so I think that's we can't miss this. If we miss this, we could do all other nine sessions together, and we don't get this right, then we are never, ever going to actually live our full life and our best selves. And so I just want to end today with Brene Brown's Manifesto of the Brave and Brokenhearted. I think it's a fitting thing to end with. I've ended with this before, and something else I'm not sure if it's one of these or not, but it doesn't hurt to end again, because it's this is how we live our best life, a worthy life. I believe that when I saw this this past week. I have it up on my wall by me, and every morning I get up and I read it. Man, I read it loudly and like owning it. So own this with me. Manifesto of the Brave and Brokenhearted. There is no greater threat to the critics and the cynics and the fearmongers than those of us who are willing to fail, because we have learned how to rise. With skinned knees and bruised hearts, we choose owning our stories of struggle over hiding, over hustling, over pretending. When we deny our stories, they define us. When we run from struggle, we are never free. So we turn towards truth and look it in the eye. We will not be characters in our stories. Not villains, not victims, not even heroes. We are the authors of our lives. We write our own daring endings. We craft love from heartbreak, compassion from shame, grace from disappointment, courage from failure. Showing up is our power. Story is our way home. Truth is our song. We are the brave and the brokenhearted. We are rising strong. All right, until next time, 180 Fit. Let's go and live this amazing life that we have. And let's show up every day. And let's actually really, let's do this week. Let's look and let's see where those negative thinkings are. And let's change our story. Because if we don't get this right, like I said, you could listen to all the other ones, but we don't get this right, it's not going to matter. All right, go. Be brave today. Thanks for listening today. Once again, this is Jen with 180 Fit. Be kind, be brave, live authentically, and always shine. Until next time, go live the fit life.